No one supports you, not because you are weak, but because power is lonely by design. When you begin to see the world clearly, support disappears. People don't abandon you when you fail. They abandon you when you stop needing them. The moment you decide to move differently, think differently, and aim higher than the limits of your environment, you become dangerous to the comfort of others. And comfort hates disruption more than it hates failure. Most people believe support comes first, then victory follows. That belief keeps them obedient. In reality, victory comes first. Support follows only when the outcome is undeniable. Until then, you are on your own. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He didn't write for the loved, he wrote for the isolated, for the ones who must win without applause, without encouragement, without allies at the beginning. He understood a brutal truth. If you wait to be supported, you will die waiting. If you move without support, you terrify those who once ignored you. The first psychological shift you must make is this. Lack of support is not a disadvantage. It is a filter. It reveals who is useless to your future. When no one supports you, you are free from expectation. You are no longer performing. You are no longer negotiating your identity. You are no longer seeking permission. You are invisible, and invisibility is the most powerful position a human being can occupy. People underestimate what they cannot see forming. When you have supporters, you are watched. When you are watched, you are constrained. When you are constrained, you adapt your behavior to approval. Approval is a leash, and most people live their entire lives tied to it, mistaking attention for power. But when no one supports you, you can build in silence. You can fail without humiliation. You can study without interruption. You can harden without explanation. This is where true power begins, internally, before it ever shows externally. Machiavelli warned that the world does not reward moral intention. It rewards effectiveness. And effectiveness is forged alone. You must understand something painful. People do not support potential. They support proof. Potential threatens them. Proof reassures them. Until your success becomes inevitable, their safest move is distance. So stop resenting the silence. Use it. Psychologically, humans follow dominant signals. Not effort, not suffering, not dreams. Dominance. If your direction is uncertain, they pull away. If your confidence is quiet but unshakable, they observe from a distance. If your success becomes undeniable, they rush to claim proximity. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to rely on themselves before relying on others. External loyalty is fragile. Internal discipline is permanent. When no one supports you, you are forced to develop self-command. You wake up without motivation and still move. You make decisions without validation and still commit. You endure doubt without reassurance and still advance. This rewires your psychology. You stop needing emotional fuel and start running on structure, and structure beats motivation every time. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they require encouragement to function. The moment encouragement disappears, they collapse. That dependency makes them predictable. Predictability makes them controllable. You cannot be controlled if you no longer require approval. Machiavelli would tell you this. Never reveal your struggle to those who cannot help you. Vulnerability without leverage is self-destruction. The world does not protect the honest. It exploits them. So when you are unsupported, do not complain. Complaints signal weakness. Silence signals calculation. Study people who rose alone. You will notice a pattern. Before their rise, they were dismissed. Before their dominance, they were isolated. Before their recognition, they were doubted. This is not coincidence. This is the process. Isolation sharpens perception. When you are not surrounded by agreement, you are forced to think critically. When no one praises you, you are forced to measure yourself honestly. When no one believes in you, you either collapse or you become dangerous. Most collapse. A few adapt. Those who adapt learn a critical Machiavellian lesson. Emotions must be controlled, not expressed. Expression relieves pressure. Control converts pressure into force. Every day without support builds internal tension. If you release it through bitterness, self-pity, or explanation, you waste it. If you contain it, that tension becomes focus. Focus becomes strategy. Strategy becomes advantage. The reason most people fail alone is because they personalize abandonment. They assume lack of support means lack of worth. Machiavelli would call this naive. Support is not a moral judgment. It is a strategic decision. People support what benefits them. If your success does not yet benefit them, they remain neutral or hostile. That does not define you. It defines incentives. Once you understand incentives, you stop seeking emotional validation and start engineering outcomes. Winning alone requires a ruthless internal rule. Never expect fairness. Expect resistance. Expect indifference. Expect betrayal. Then build systems that function regardless. This is where emotional maturity becomes lethal. You stop announcing plans. You stop seeking advice from those who never build anything. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop asking for belief and start collecting results. Machiavelli believed that a leader must appear confident even when surrounded by uncertainty, but privately that leader must be adaptable, calculating, and brutally realistic. When you have no support, you are forced into this duality early. Externally calm, internally precise. You begin to move quietly. You learn timing. You learn when to advance and when to disappear. You learn when to speak and when silence creates more pressure than words ever could. People fear what they cannot read. And when you rise without support, something irreversible happens psychologically. You no longer need them even when they return. This is critical. Many people dream of proving others wrong so they can finally be accepted. That is weakness disguised as ambition. True power is proving nothing and still winning. The moment you internalize this, your posture changes. Your decisions sharpen. Your tolerance for nonsense evaporates. You stop chasing networks and start building value. You stop seeking allies and start creating leverage. You stop asking who's with me and start asking what outcome do I control. Machiavelli warned that allies who join after victory are unreliable, but useful. You must learn to use them without trusting them. But before that phase, there is a harder one, becoming self-sufficient. When no one supports you, every skill you lack becomes a liability. So you learn fast. When no one rescues you, every mistake becomes expensive. So you think before acting. When no one encourages you, every small win becomes fuel. So you learn to recognize progress without applause. This builds an internal reward system, and an internal reward system makes you unstoppable. Most people are addicted to external feedback, likes, praise, agreement, validation. Remove that and they lose direction. But when you win alone long enough, you become immune to noise. Noise no longer influences you. Opinions no longer destabilize you. Rejection no longer defines you. You stop reacting. You start positioning. Machiavelli understood that reaction is weakness. Reaction gives others control over your emotional state. When you are unsupported, you have the perfect training ground to eliminate reaction entirely. You don't argue. You don't defend. You don't convince. You observe. You adapt. You advance. The world respects outcomes, not explanations. This is why those who rise alone often appear cold. It's not cruelty, it's efficiency. Warmth is expensive when you're building power from nothing. There will be nights when doubt hits hard, when isolation feels heavy, when you question whether the silence means you're wrong. This is where most people quit. But Machiavellian thinking teaches you to separate emotion from direction. Emotion is temporary. Direction is permanent. You don't need confidence, you need commitment. Confidence comes after results. Commitment comes before. When no one supports you, commitment is the only thing that remains. And if you can hold it long enough, it becomes identity. You stop asking, will this work? You start saying, this is what I'm doing. That shift terrifies people because certainty without support signals internal authority. And internal authority is rare. By the time others notice you, you are already ahead. By the time they understand you, you are already positioned. By the time they support you, you no longer depend on it. This is the paradox of power. Those most capable of ruling are those least interested in being liked. Machiavelli didn't promise comfort. He promised effectiveness. And effectiveness requires a phase of solitude most people are too weak to survive. If you are unsupported right now, You are not behind. You are early. You are in the phase where character is forged, not displayed. Where strength is built, not celebrated. Where future dominance is quietly assembled while others are distracted by approval. Stay silent. Stay disciplined. Stay moving. The world will catch up later, and when it does, you will decide who gets close and who remains irrelevant. Eventually, something changes. Not around you, but inside you. You stop feeling abandoned and start feeling untouchable. This is the moment Machiavelli would recognize as dangerous. Not because you've won yet, but because you no longer require permission to continue. When a person reaches this stage, they become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. Most people need social reinforcement to remain consistent. Take it away, and their discipline dissolves. But when you've been unsupported long enough, discipline becomes automatic. You no longer negotiate with your emotions. You no longer debate whether to act. Action becomes routine. Routine becomes identity. This is where real leverage is born. You begin to understand a harsh truth. Support is often a subtle form of control. Those who support you early feel entitled to influence you later. They expect access. They expect loyalty. They expect consideration. When you rise alone, no one owns you. Machiavelli warned against debts, financial, emotional, or moral. A man who owes too much is never free. Winning alone keeps your balance clean. When people finally start to notice you, their behavior will shift. Curiosity replaces indifference. Praise replaces doubt. Interest replaces silence. But this interest is not admiration. It is assessment. They are asking one question: how can this benefit me? Do not be offended. This is human nature. The mistake most people make at this stage is emotional revenge. They either reject everyone out of bitterness or overcompensate by finally seeking approval. Both are errors. The correct move is neutrality. You neither chase nor exclude. You observe. You allow access slowly. You test loyalty through time, not words. Machiavelli believed time exposes truth better than interrogation ever could. When someone supports you after you've proven yourself, assume strategy, not sincerity. That doesn't mean reject them. It means never confuse usefulness with loyalty. Use people. Do not depend on them. This sounds harsh until you understand that dependency is what destroyed you earlier. Depending on support that never came. Depending on belief that was never offered. Depending on encouragement that was always conditional. Now you operate differently. You rely on systems, not emotions. Processes, not promises. Structure, not hope. Hope is for those who have nothing else. You are building certainty. At this stage, your biggest threat is not enemies, it's ego. Rising alone creates an internal myth. I did this by myself. While true, this belief can blind you. Machiavelli respected humility disguised as caution. Arrogance exposes weakness. Never announce independence. Let it be inferred. Continue acting as if support could vanish tomorrow, because it can. Power that requires constant validation is fragile. Power that survives isolation is permanent. You will notice another psychological shift. Your tolerance for chaos decreases. You begin to value order, clear thinking, clean execution. You no longer romanticize struggle. Struggle was necessary, not sacred. This is important. Many people cling to the identity of being unsupported because it feels special. That is a trap. Power evolves. You must evolve with it. Machiavelli believed that clinging to old methods after circumstances change leads to downfall. Adaptation is survival. As your influence grows, you must become more disciplined, not less. More reserved, not louder. More strategic, not reactive. Silence remains your advantage. The world will try to label you cold, calculated, distant. Let them. Labels are a distraction. Outcomes are what matter. Remember this. Those who criticize you in silence will try to praise you loudly. Praise can be more dangerous than doubt. Doubt sharpens you. Praise dulls you. Accept praise politely. Never consume it. Your internal standard must remain higher than any external recognition. There will be moments when you are tempted to explain your journey, to tell people how hard it was, how alone you felt, how much you endured. Resist this urge. Explanation humanizes you. Mystery protects you. Machiavelli understood that power depends not only on what is known, but on what remains concealed. Your struggle is not a story for public consumption. It is a weapon that forged you. Do not hand it away. As you continue winning, you will face a final test. Trust. Not in others, but in yourself. After surviving without support, trusting again feels risky. You've learned that people disappear, that loyalty is conditional, that silence is safer than exposure. But total isolation is not the goal. Control is. You choose when to open. You choose who enters. You choose how close anyone gets. This is mastery. You no longer need crowds. You need precision. A few aligned forces outperform 1,000 spectators. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear generous but remain selective, accessible but not dependent, friendly but not familiar. Apply this to your life. Let people feel close without giving them leverage. The ultimate victory of winning without support is this. You are no longer afraid of losing it. You've already lived without it. You already know you can function in silence. That knowledge cannot be taken from you. Fear disappears when dependency disappears. At that point, you move differently. You negotiate differently. You risk differently. You walk away when others beg, because your power is internal, and internal power does not collapse under pressure. If the world turns against you again, you adapt. If allies leave, you adjust. If praise fades, you continue. You are no longer built for comfort. You are built for endurance. This is why those who win alone rarely fall easily. They've already been stripped down to essentials. There is nothing left to take from them. Machiavelli would call this the highest position, not loved, not hated, respected. Respect is born from consistency, not approval. When people see that you move forward regardless of conditions, they stop trying to influence you emotionally. They switch to strategy. And that is when you've won the psychological war, because now the game is played on your terms. Winning without support is not a phase. It is a foundation. Once you've built on it, every future victory stands on solid ground. You are no longer waiting for the world to believe in you. You already know who you are, and that knowledge is unshakable.